All right, folks, we're ready to get started. You are joining us for a webinar, and today's topic is how to monetize InkSoft's online designer. And sort of the subheading here is Made to Order, the Rise of Mass Personalization. So I'm really excited to speak on this topic because I have much experience in the way of time and industry knowledge and understanding here. So with that said, let's talk about today's agenda, the points that I'd like to communicate in today's webinar. We're going to start with an understanding of the current state, where we reside at the time of this webinar, and really the influences and those forces that are really driving adoption of print-on-demand technology, driving the new business opportunities. So we'll break down sort of the current state and get alignment there. Then we're going to talk about some of the research and data that supports, again, what's driving the real demand for personalization. Then we'll talk about some of the business benefits and the business potential by leveraging and really investing in, attracting sales through the online designer. We'll talk about the specific use cases that the online designer will help you in terms of driving new value to your business and also helping, give value to your customers. So there's sort of two benefits here, you and your customer. Then we'll talk about ways to specifically monetize the design studio. There's actually a few different views here that we'll break down because I think the most obvious thing is actually transacting from the online designer. However, there's some other ways that you can derive value from the online designer. Then we'll talk about the marketing playbook, sort of best practices, the things that you need to be thoughtful of and contemplative of as you go to market with an online designer. I have a lot to say about that. Then we'll talk about best practices, and those are the things to consider in terms of settings, the things you want to contemplate in terms of product mix and pricing that relate to maximizing sales and value from the online designer. And as mentioned, we'll conclude with a tour of the online designer. So if you're an InkSoft customer, you can drop off at that point. If you'd like to know more about the specific feature function of the online designer, we'll present that at the end of today's webinar. All right, so let's talk about the current state. So at the time of this webinar, what's really driving growth and the demand for technology like an online designer that, of course, directly relates to print on demand. So the number one thing that is the major demand and growth driver right now is, of course, e-commerce. E-commerce has been the darling of COVID. So as so many industries and businesses have suffered, the one positive beacon and the positive source of growth has been e-commerce. Think as folks are sort of working remote or from home and lockdown orders, every consumer turned to ordering online. And look at the pressure that put on organizations and look at the benefactors of that demand. So of course, Amazon was one of the major beneficiaries, but look at the shipping vendors and the real challenges that imposed on shipping and delivery times, right? So we'll give some specific data as it relates to the real, what we experienced in 2020 as it relates to e-commerce growth and demand, but what we can expect in 21 and then onwards. Now, the other driver of demand and growth, of course, today's consumers are now digital natives. So I have 4 young kids, and they're all digital natives, meaning they grew up with iPads and video games and computers, and that's all they really know. And compare the term digital native, which describes, those Gen Z, millennial, those consumers that grew up with these digital devices, and compare that to the other term that social scientists use, which describes, digital immigrants. And think of that for a moment. Thinking of my grandparents who have adopted, digital technology, but it's not necessarily native or always familiar. But the reality is today's consumer is empowered with a smart device in their pocket where they can transact and conduct commerce anytime they see fit. The other motivation here is you couple technology and you couple, the sort of expectation that today's consumer has, which is immediate gratification. The expectation now that consumers can place an order when it's convenient to them, and they expect rapid delivery, right? So it's the convenience economy, and an online designer is going to let you leverage both digital natives, which are the future consumers, along with the convenience economy and motivator. The other sort of thing we need to contemplate here is, today's digital natives and today's consumers, they expect a gorgeous, simple, straightforward user experience. They also expect the ability to self-service. These are now no longer luxuries, but these are expectations. A consumer expects to be able to transact and do business with a merchant when it's convenient to them in a convenient way. And we continue to see so many print entrepreneurs using online order forms or other means like contact our team now and we'll help you, plan the perfect, merch program or campaign. That's a point of friction. That's a bottleneck, and that's likely going to turn away consumers onto a vendor or merchant that can allow that consumer to be immersed in an experience and self-service. The other consideration, this is something I've been hearing a lot about, and this wasn't even something that happened during the COVID pandemic. This is something that's been in motion for ages now, which are, traditional order sizes are shrinking. So consumers today are placing orders for smaller quantities. However, they tend to expect to be able to replenish those small quantity orders more frequently. So there's a lot of drivers here, and we'll unpack that in a moment's time. But the reality is, short run length orders are going to be the future, and we need to make sure that we are optimizing for those consumer preferences, right? I don't want to deal with inventory. I need exactly a specific quantity on demand, and I expect to be able to replenish and reorder that. Now, the other consideration here that sort of relates to this notion of order size shrinking is inventory holding is not a very attractive thing. So think, most of your consumers or customers don't want to take a large inventory position, hoping they sell out of all the different sizes and colors they might order. So the reality is turnkey, quick replenishment, quick fulfillment, frictionless fulfillment is really going to win the day. And that's going to become a new expectation with clients. And again, we're going to get into all these details as we navigate and traverse through our presentation today. Now, the other consideration here is print on demand technology, of course, continues year over year to improve in terms of speed of print, quality of print, cost reductions, price per print, cost per print. So the reality is today, direct to garment, and digital print technology really optimized for print on demand and mass personalization. It's mature. It's no longer brand new bleeding edge technology. It's been around for a long time. It's, again, affordable and it's widely accessible. So many manufacturers are now producing this technology and making big investments, including companies that have been traditional manufacturers of screen print are now moving into digital technologies, hybrid and dedicated. So the reality is there's this new convergence with technology and hardware and the demand within the industry, consumer demand for short run length orders, of course, fast fashion, moment merch, all these things we'll unpack as we make our progress today. So let's now get into the research and the data. What does research and what do the hard, cold facts tell us about the opportunity for an online designer and to engage and invest in personalization to the highest order? So I found an awesome white paper and study, really research from Deloitte, and effectively made to order the rise of mass personalization. So they sampled and surveyed consumers in different age groups to determine preferences and consumer awareness about personalization, and of course comparing that to other data in terms of economics and what's happening in different industries. So let me kind of summarize the findings from this research from a third party. So first consideration is 43% rather, of consumers are interested in personalized apparel. So that's a high percentage of total consumers. They have a strong interest in personalized apparel. And we'll get into some of the drivers of that demand. Now, 46% of consumers say they are happy to wait longer to get personalized products. So a great case study here is look at Etsy, a marketplace for vintage or handcrafted items. Consumers have knowledge that when something's truly unique and custom, that there's a longer period to receive those products because the nature, it's unique. So the reality is consumers have a willingness to wait longer to get those personalized items. 1 in 5 consumers are willing to pay 20% more for a customized or an exclusive product. So think about that impact on your profitability, on your price strategy. If you could charge 20% more because a product is perceived as either exclusive or highly customized, that's a major opportunity for you to enhance your profitability. Now imagine you didn't sell any more. You didn't adopt new customers or build new relationships. You had the same amount of transactions, total number of orders in the year, but you're able to grow your profitability or grow your revenue by 20%, that is significant. So the reality is there's a huge opportunity to monetize your existing business simply by a price increase. Now, the next consideration is the attitudes and preferences as it relates to personalization. So directly from Deloitte and Touche, the reality is consumers believe that customized products can make great gifts. 50% of respondents said customized products can make an excellent gift. So that's a great way to sort of process in your marketing. Can you go to market and inform customers and prospects alike that personalized items are a great gift? So a great way to implement this into your marketing messaging. The next consideration, I like to buy something that is unique. 41% of respondents like to buy something that makes them feel unique, right? So individuals want to feel differentiated. They want to feel unique. It's all about self-expression. And we're going to talk about self-expression as a major driver in a moment. The next consideration, standard products do not offer exactly what I want. Again, this goes to this notion of individual preferences. So, off-the-shelf standard products aren't as meaningful as, say, something that is seen as custom or unique. And there's value to that, right? You can buy Nike shoes, or you can go to Nike ID and truly customize those shoes and pay a handsome premium, but you will be made to feel as an individual and hyper unique. Next consideration, 32% of respondents said designing something is fun. So consumers have a strong preference for co-designing. They find pleasure in being invited and being involved in the design process. 28% of respondents say, I like to buy something that expresses my personality. So again, these are all factors in terms of consumer attitudes and preferences that you can leverage and really utilize the online designer to help those consumers, again, tap into the sense of the individual self-expression and those preferences. All right, so moving along, here's one of the sort of most important conclusions, and this is directly quoting the researchers in this report. Businesses that embrace personalization have an opportunity to create a differentiated proposition that may command a price premium and improve consumer traffic and conversion. Personalization could help also improve efficiencies and reduce costs and offer a path to sustainable growth. Well, those sound like pretty positive things, right? You can differentiate, which of course is critical when dealing with competitors, both online competitors and those local competitors. You can also improve customer traffic, so driving people to your website to transact with you and converting that traffic that you are driving to your website. The other thing we're going to talk about as we get into monetizing is efficiencies and cost reductions, and of course, growth through new revenue, through profit optimization. So again, great research and data. Let me give you some other facts and figures here before we get into the balance of our presentation. So we talked about, e-commerce is booming. And of course, that was the most positive economic news of 2020 and will continue to be very positive in 21. So in this case, global e-commerce grew by 30% in a single year in 2020. Now, of course, that's a bit abnormal growth because of the demand of ordering goods and having goods delivered, as again, people were contending with lockdown orders or working remote. So of course, abnormal driver there, but nonetheless, massive growth in 1 year's time, which introduced a lot of new digital immigrants and sort of compelled these digital immigrants to understand that you can order groceries and have those delivered to you online, right? So now consumers are feeling more confident, more familiar with ordering products. There's a greater trust factor. Now, the other contemplation here is looking ahead in 2021, analysts expect e-commerce growth to be 14% in 21. Now, when I was doing research around this data, even the US, Bureau of Economics, reports year-over-year growth, even adjusted for seasonality. So we know that there's always spikes around the holidays, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, but even when you normalize and sort of consider adjusted, unadjusted growth, there has been year-over-year growth in e-commerce sales since the advent of e-commerce. And I expect that to be a greater share of overall commerce as time goes on. So the real point I'm trying to make here is something we'll talk about a number of times today, which is future proofing, investing today where growth will happen in the future. Okay, so fundamental business, right? Investing today where the growth and the demand is going to continue to perpetuate. And so investments made in this space today will have big implication and payoff 12 months from now, 18 months from now, and into the future as your business grows and as the digital economy continues to iterate and evolve. Now, here's two specific data points that come right from InkSoft. So when looking at historical transactions from InkSoft's online designer, the average order value, so the average order size is just south of $400 with an average units of 33.7. So this kind of goes to show that the opportunity is really for the short run length orders. Consumers generally aren't buying, 1,000-piece traditional orders from the online designer. They're ordering for family reunion or a small engagement or a small event, right? So this has been one of the most neglected opportunities in our space for ages, right? The small transactions, because it's been hard to do those transactions profitably if you do it in a traditional way. If I have to invoice and prepare artwork and get approval and track down payment and go through all the manual steps that are typically involved in the sales cycle in a traditional order, maybe in a brick and mortar context, that would not be very efficient. That likely wouldn't be a profitable transaction. But we'll argue as we go, if you can automate online orders, you get paid, you get all the assets for the order. That's all been furnished and automated from your customer. That proposition is entirely different. So again, the historical data from InkSoft over the course of 11 years tells us the average composition of a short run length order from the online designer looks like, as you see on screen, $400 and 33.7 pieces. So you got to make sure you can optimize for that opportunity, or you'll forego that opportunity and somebody else will command it. So let's get into the business benefits and the business potential here. And of course, this is critical to understand what's in it for you, to motivate you to make decisions and maybe change your model and adapt. And of course, contemplating what the benefits and upside for your customers are. So the better we understand as business people, benefits, the more motivated we are to make changes or to endure any sort of modifications in order to realize these benefits. Now, the first contemplation is retail price points, right? So one of the most exciting things about these sort of online orders, as we look back at consumer preferences, a willingness to pay 20% more for a product that's seen as highly customizable or exclusive. So what we've learned in our time in the space and from our thousands of customers is online orders from the online designer fetch higher retail price points compared to offline brick and mortar transactions. So the reality is when your customer can self-service, it's a convenient experience. There's no friction involved. I got to design the thing I want. I can place my order directly, and there's value to that level of convenience. So the reality is you should see orders from the online designer as fetching premium retail price points, which of course is going to make a major impact on your financials, right? Because you're collecting more revenue with more inbuilt profit, which means you're going to be in a better financial state. Now, as I've talked about a number of times, and I'll probably mention a few more, the short run length order potential is massive. So many traditional screen printers have turned down the small orders because they impose a course of 48, 72, whatever minimum quantity is imposed. But again, with the advent of new on-demand, print-on-demand technologies like direct-to-garment printing, suddenly the proposition to print those jobs effectively and profitably becomes a reality. So again, we need to optimize and adjust our mindset to really start to figure out how we can leverage short-run length orders at retail price points. Now, the other consideration here, the one that I'm most excited about, something that's getting a lot of momentum and attention, is this notion of fast fashion and moment merch. So of course, fashion trends now happen with an Instagram post. An influencer can post something and immediately gain rapid attention and exposure, and all of a sudden there's a new trend. Something's in vogue and popular because somebody ordained it as such. And so if you think about the traditional sort of time lag that traditional fashion would have to leverage that, to design everything, to get it approved, to get it through manufacturing, to get it to retail, to get it distributed. Fashion is happening so quickly now that traditional distribution doesn't work. So the reality is today's consumers want to leverage what's in trend, what's in vogue, and they want to, have that ratified in their brand, in their identity. So let's use like a cheerleading group as an example, right? Maybe there's a cheerleading group, who's a tight-knit community of enthusiasts for cheer. Maybe they compete, they represent their high school. Well, of course, they're influenced by other cheerleaders at maybe the collegiate level or the competitive level on Instagram and other social platforms. So they're exposed to what's fashionable, what's trendy, what's relevant, and they expect and want those things on their merchandise. So your ability through the online designer to allow those consumers to sort of translate what they find as fashionable and in demand and popular and place an order directly is significant. Now, the other consideration that's sort of related is this notion of moment merch, which is an awesome term that describes all the merch that happens around these pop culture, social media, newsworthy political movements and moments, right? And I don't mean this to be a political statement. This is just a fact that there was stress in the supply chain for Black T-shirts because of the political movement, the movement Black Lives Matters, right? So that was a moment merge condition that had major impact on our industry. If you look at the recent Bernie Sanders meme, right? That was everywhere. It was a fun, ever-present social media movement, using a social meme. And that even translated into merch. In fact, the Bernie Sanders campaign had raised millions of dollars selling a sweatshirt with the Bernie meme, with mittens, right? So the reality is, whether it be sports, whether it be pop culture, there are just these things that happen in social media that become contagions, they become viral, and of course that can translate and comport directly into merch. So being in a position where your consumers can leverage the moment merch opportunities that happen in their world and take full advantage of those, right? So humor, again, every local community has these events, these things that are meaningful. Sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative, but consumers want to act on those messages and get cool branded merchandise to reflect those things. And that's moment merch. We're actually working on some cool new marketing materials to go into further depth about how to really leverage the marketing opportunity of moment merch. And that's something that you're going to continue to hear a lot about. Now, we mentioned earlier self-expression, this notion of the individual wants to feel just that, individual, right? And self-expression means, if you look at a typical high school and you look at the dress, the attire, the styles and trends, consumers just happen to self-express through wearables, through, the vehicles they drive, the bumper stickers they adorn their vehicle with, the banners they might put in their front yard or their yard signage, right? So the reality is self-expression is something that's a real virtue, and letting consumers self-express through design and the ability to design online when it's convenient to them and order the products that they find value in, obviously is another driver of, supports this notion of having an online designer. Now let's get a little bit, so I just wanted to restate again those, what the Deloitte research showed us. I like to buy something that's unique. Standard products do not offer exactly what I want. Designing something is fun. And again, that ratifies this notion of self-expression and how valuable it is to consumers. So let's now move along and let's get into the use cases. So how do you use an online designer? What are the specific ways you can use an online designer? It's not one way, it's multiple ways. And I think this is probably the most important thing that I can share or communicate with you today, is the different ways to fully leverage an online designer. So number one use case is all of your customers have one thing in common. They need to make a decision about one or more products that they want as part of their campaign, as part of their order, as part of a way to self-express. So every printed product has that relationship. There's a product involved. So think about when a client comes to you and they know they want something. They don't necessarily have their identity or their design or their graphic yet, but they know that they want very specific, very intentional products, right? Hey, it's important to our organization that we have eco-friendly products and we want hooded sweatshirts. What products do you have that fit that category? So an online designer, rather the InkSoft online designer, I can only speak to our technology. One of the first use cases, all consumers will be prompted to select a product first, because that product is going to be influential about how it can be designed on, right? So searching, finding, filtering, seeing whether it be size charts, product descriptions, critical product selection experience. Now, the next use case, of course, is design. And there's a few ways to view design. Number one, logo wear. Believe it or not, our historical data tells us the number one transaction from the online designer is from a customer who has uploaded their identity, put it on a product, and placed an order. There's no creativity, really. They just want logo wear. They have their identity. They want it on products. They want to place an order. So that's the upload workflow. The next consideration as it relates to design is custom. And this is ideation. So I want to create something and experiment and really, see and experience different, visual ways that I could communicate my identity, my brand, the meaning of our organization, whatever it might be, right? But there's also this notion of communication and collaboration. So think, so many clubs and groups, they operate as an organization, as a tribe, if you will. Usually there's a social maven or somebody that might be responsible for designing gear or merch, but they need to share that with the rest of the community to get feedback, to get input, to get buy-in, to get, any consideration before you finalize an order. So the ability to let a consumer design something and share it with their community to get buy-in, to get feedback is going to help move the needle as it relates to converting that traffic into a transaction. Now, the third use case is quotation, what I call the quotation filter and firewall. So imagine allowing consumers or prospective customers to go to your website, to see different products, to be able to understand the cost and their price rather. And really, they need to make a conscientious decision. Are they in or are they out? Do they perceive that price to be far too expensive and they'll never spend that much money and they exit, right? So it's sort of filtering curious versus serious. If somebody has the expectation to get printed t-shirts for $1.50 and that's not something that you do, well, it's probably best to make that determination before they waste your time and ask you for quotes and ideas and endless back and forth. That's opportunity cost. So, think of this as a way to ensure that you have fair pricing that you stand by, and your online designer will reflect that pricing. And if a consumer is not willing to invest in that quality merch from your website and they deem you to be too expensive, they're never going to be a customer. So why waste time with them, right? It's a filter and a firewall to parse out consumers that are serious versus those that are curious. Now, the fourth contemplation, and the one that I think is the most obvious, and I think the one that most consumers view the design studio as only doing, is e-commerce, right? Letting a consumer design something, buy something online, check out and go, just like Custom Ink or Vistaprints or any of the other major e-tailers. That's true of the InkSoft Online Designer. And there's a lot of value to that in terms of order automation. But I don't want it to be lost that there's other ways to use the designer. And I'll give you some examples of how many InkSoft customers use an online designer, which is, let's start the conversation. So think of those times where you have a customer that calls you, emails, DMs, whatever way they engage with you, and they put you on what I call the creative hot seat. Here's a description of our event and our general need. Now do your magic and present products and designs that are going to totally satisfy my requirements. And oftentimes you're guessing, right? So many InkSoft customers will use that context, that sales scenario to say, let's get the conversation started. I'm going to invite you to our website where you can click create and you can choose the right products, the right product colors, and you can leverage all the designs that are in our online designer to create something that you're excited about. And what our team will do is review your design, and we'll come back with some suggestions and some comments to ensure that we develop the perfect theme for your event. So that's an excellent use case, an excellent way to queue up your prospective customers, to get them to commit, to at minimum communicate what products they're interested in, what design concepts are going to excite them. And of course, you can always take over at any time. So the point is, there's multiple ways to leverage the online designer. It's not always about deriving an online order. Of course, that's the most valuable function, but there's other ways to tap into the value and the features that are available in the online designer. Now, that kind of leads us up to really what is the main thesis of today's webinar, which is how you can monetize the online designer. What are the opportunities to maximize your profits through this technology? And so there's really two ways to look at this, and we'll break down both. revenue generation and cost reduction. So how is it that you can sell more and grow your revenue? And that's to attract new customers. It's to sell with greater frequency. And then how can you reduce your operating costs, total costs that are involved? And that just means you get to keep more profit, right? So with that said, let's kind of break down the details as it relates to revenue generation. And really, I think most of this relies on one thing, which is greater reach. So for so many companies, the way that you'll grow your business is, well, of course, finding more customers and selling more to existing customers. So here's one of been the sort of the greatest, I think, challenges that it has affected our industry. And I think this challenge is being solved as a result of technology. But the reality is digital marketing, digital advertising is the quickest way to scale revenue, is the quickest way to go to market, to grow a business, to grow a brand. Because with digital marketing and digital advertising, you can touch targeted prospective customers across the globe. So with that said, the ability to fully tap into the benefits of digital marketing and advertising is now a reality because you can advertise, come to our website and design something custom for your group or club or organization. Now, if that ad led me to a website where I'd be expected to fill out a form or call you or chat with you, doesn't let me actually, really leverage the message in that ad. It's a dead end. It's a false start. So today's consumer expects to see an ad that's relevant, and they expect to be able to go to a destination URL. So once I click that ad, I actually go to a digital property where I can do the thing that you're advertising. And that might be designing a custom shirt for my band or my club or my group, right? So there's been this cliff where I've seen a lot of decorators and print shops, print entrepreneurs advertise, and then you see the end destination and it just is a dead end. So the reality is with digital marketing advertising, you can finally leverage search engine optimization. You can finally leverage paid advertising. So Google pay-per-click, boosted social media posts that are highly targeted. You can also, social media marketing, organic social media marketing. So you can present something and compel, with a call to action to drive a customer to your website and actually get them to do the thing you're calling them to action to do, right? So digital advertising and digital marketing is the greatest tool that's in the marketer's toolbox in really every single industry. Our industry has really been laggards as it relates to the adoption of this technology and this way to go to market in a hyper-competitive way. So with these tools, you can target by age, by socioeconomic, by demographic, by psychographic, by area, by region. You can really find targeted, qualified customers and put your messaging, your brand, your value proposition in front of them. And so long as you have an end destination to be able to convert those, those website visitors into actual paying customer has been the missing link. Now, I think the other consideration here, and I kind of mentioned it, but the sort of the enthusiasm of expanding into new geographical markets. I've talked to print entrepreneurs forever in our space that have been so frustrated about, JP, I'm selling to every church group. I'm selling to all the schools, sports clubs, and B2B, and I've sort of just tapped out because we live in a smaller community, and I do have competition, so I can't scale my business. Year over year, we have sort of the same growth. So how do I grow my business? Well, you have to be able to tap in and sell into new markets, right? And again, digital marketing advertising is the way to do that. I think the other exciting consideration here is the ability to go really deep into niche, long tail, and underserved markets and customer bases. So again, think about so many schools have clubs and some of those clubs are small. The tennis club might only have 15 players and they want t-shirts and they want cool gear to represent their tennis club, but they keep getting rejected because they can't buy 48 pieces. But if I could sell 12 units and maybe t-shirts, hoodies, and a mix of products, and I can get those fulfilled, and again, print on demand, and I can charge them a premium because everybody else is saying no. Well, those underserved markets and customers are ripe for the picking. And it's really a sort of more of a volume. So if I can get more of those small groups, well, those add up to be major sources of revenue. So I would certainly suggest, hyper targeting some of those underserved markets because they're neglected even by the big advertisers, right? So let's get into cost reduction. This is all pretty straightforward. So if you let your customers go to your website and self-service, meaning they can choose the products they want, they can place an order, they can conduct whatever art content. So again, typical sort of sales bottlenecks and workflow is product selection. If the client can select products they want, if they can automate art by either uploading, creating, or maybe it's a mix. Maybe they upload their corporate logo, but they want to build a theme around that logo to commemorate some event that's forthcoming. They can automate the art. If they can place their order by making payment, well, you're going to get paid up front. You're going to get an automatic packing slip. You're going to get an automatic work order, production instruction, shipping label. All the order details are made electronic. So the reality is your cost is diminished because of automation, because the client can self-service and do all of those things that you would normally have to do on a manual analog basis. And that's a major time sink. That's a major inefficiency sink. That's time that you're not reinvesting back into marketing or other ways to grow your business. So the reality is customer self-service and order automation means that you can do short run length orders profitably because all the labor has been done in advance. You can optimize your payroll expense and overhead to again reinvest that that spend in more important things and other ways to grow your business. So cost reduction, if you can automate orders, is obviously tremendously valuable, and an online designer serves to do just that. All right, let's get into the marketing playbook. We're making fast progress here, I promise. So the marketing playbook all begins with demand generation. And demand gen is something you'll oftentimes hear as a buzzword in marketing, advertising, best practices. I want to give a very specific definition of what demand gen means. It's targeted marketing to drive awareness and interest in a company's products and or services. So again, targeted marketing through digital and really targeted marketing through all of the marketing efforts to create awareness, to inform your customers and prospective customers, hey, come to our website where you can do the following. So of course, creating awareness is step number one. Just to create a sales opportunity, you have to first create awareness and of course, interest and drive traffic to your website. So the number one thing with all marketing for any business in any industry is of course, demand gen, targeted marketing efforts to just even create awareness and interest in your products and services. And of course, you've seen that data from Deloitte. So many consumers, 43% are interested in personalized apparel and custom clothing. So market that. You can tap into 43% of total consumers. They have a strong desire and interest there. And you looked at all those other preferences as it relates to feeling special through custom products, wanting something unique, taking pleasure in sort of designing, it's fun. The other consideration here is active and omnipresent marketing. So oftentimes folks think of sort of launch, right? We market and that's it. So it's kind of a continuum, right? Of consistent and persistent. And I'm oftentimes reminded to keep myself motivated as an entrepreneur, the time I invest today in something, in a marketing effort or in a product development effort, the decisions, the strategy, the efforts that I'm investing in today don't have immediate impact, but 12 months from now could be the thing that moves the needle. So always think in terms of, being consistent and being persistent and seeing this as a long game, right? It's a long view. The things you do today will pay off in the future. And because you're investing in the future, you're future-proofing your business. And we see the demand and the drive for e-commerce. We see the demand and the drive for short run length orders, for fast fashion, for moment merch, to let customers self-service, to give customers a better experience. So investing today means that you're future-proofing your business. You don't want to be a laggard here. And in fact, there's a term for this in economics called digital Darwinism. Those companies and businesses that fail to innovate and pivot and really adapt to today's conditions are those businesses that are going to struggle, right? So don't be that business. Now, here's another consideration as it relates to marketing. You have a very keen and unique ability to be what we call internally human-to-human marketers, meaning you should be actively saying, come to our website where you can self-service. All of the designs submitted through our online designer will go through a humanized design review where our team of experts will review and make suggestions or make modifications to ensure your design is perfect. We're also here to help. So at any moment, at any time where you want our help or our intervention, just signal us, whether it be live chat, whether it be filling out a form, whatever it might be. The point is you always want to ensure that we have amazing customer support. We're here to help you. So if you get stuck, if you have a question, if you need help, reach out to us, that there's still humans that are driving this business, right? So I think there's a nice blend of using tech, but also keeping it human. Now, let's go into best practices before we get into an InkSoft online designer tour. Now, best practices, less is more. This is something I've written about, I've educated about, I've talked about ad infinitum. The reality is, be ruthless as it relates to choosing products that you're going to add to your product mix in the online designer. And there's this fear that if I don't add these hyper niche products that are available through SAMR, Alpha Broder, SNS Active, if I don't add every single product that my customers could ever ask for, that we're going to lose tons of sales opportunity. And that's a fallacy. So if you look at Custom Ink and you look at the national leaders as it relates to e-tailers that offer an online designer, they have a pretty slim, pretty narrow product catalog. So the thing to consider here is what products are relevant, seasonal, trending, popular. Inventory availability is a new thing. There's a lot of course, distress in the supply chain right now because of manufacturing and overseas and ship lags. So be really thoughtful about the products that you're selecting to make sure that you can, in fact, fulfill and order those blank goods. So make intentional decisions about inventory and popular trending products. Also recommend good, better, best. Ensure that you have products that meet different budget brackets, right? Economy products, moderately priced products, and then premium, because consumers have different preferences, right? I, as a consumer and entrepreneur, would never want the InkSoft identity on on an economy product, because that's not a match for our brand identity. So don't always assume people want the cheapest. Give them the option of good, better, best, and message that actively. Let them search based on budget. The other thing that we need to be very thoughtful of is speed. There's so many consumers that now think in terms of, well, I can order from Amazon and have things in a day or two. So the assumption is that your business should be able to do the same. So maybe think in terms of speed and how to deliver on those events and those needs where there's a quick demand, quick fulfillment required, right? So print on demand is a thing here. Maybe stocking certain inventory, a white garment, a black garment in certain sizes, the things that you'll know will always sell in print, maintaining on-hand inventory to be able to respond to those types of needs. And also consider rush markups, right? So a rush fee for processing your order quickly or quicker, but also, of course, in delivery and ship. The other consideration is that short run length mindset. I know I said it 15 times now, but the reality is, brace for the future where consumers expect to order short, these short run length order compositions and get them replenished and fulfilled with higher degrees of frequency versus taking big inventory stocking positions, which is no longer desirable and not in vogue. All right. The other sort of conclusion here with best practices is, in advance of using an online designer, figure out a partner or a range of partners that you can use to optimize your customer supplied art content workflow. And what that means is, one of the best practices in the online designer is to enable the image upload capability, to let your customers upload their art content no matter how cruddy it might be. The reality is, let your customers upload their content, place their order, deal with it on the back end. Send that logo to be reconstructed and vectorized, pay the $10 to have a professional clean it up, and then you have that client's vectorized logo or brand on file that you could use to remarket to them, to retarget to them, to offer them other products, right? So the reality is, have this in place where you have a trusted partner that you can send a cruddy JPEG to, who can clean it up in 24 hours and you can go on to production. So we've seen a lot of friction and traditional mindset of, hey, a customer supplied low resolution JPEG isn't good for me. You have to adjust your mindset, and you're never going to educate your clients to always submit customer or camera ready art. So be in a position to deal with that. All right. Well, we are at the wrap up stage, and this is where InkSoft users can choose to abandon the webinar, because we're going to transition and spend the last 5 or so minutes just doing a quick tour of the InkSoft Online Designer technology to really ratify and bring home some of these points. But my conclusion is, I've said it now many times, but I'm going to drill it home. Optimize for short run length orders. This is something you should be compulsive about, obsessive about, and whether it's hardware investments, whether it's contract decoration relationships, whatever it might be, figure out how to accommodate, leverage, and profit from short run length orders. See this as the future and as the source of growth, and make changes in your business and stop resisting and be in a position to reap the revenue and profit that's available with short run length orders. Underserved markets, niche markets, that's the greatest opportunity available to most of the folks in our space today. Print on demand technology investments, whether you're going to earmark investments, you're going to look for finance options, whatever it might be. There's so many amazing manufacturers who've made amazing engineering leaps and bounds with print on demand technologies. Now's the time to start to seriously consider how that technology fits. Do your due diligence and research, order sample prints, really do analysis to figure out the ROI, to look at a lease payment and determine how many of these short run length orders, you ought to be, setting up goals to again, transact. Now is the time to look at that technology. Future proofing needs to be your motivation. How do I set my business up for success 24 months from now? It's the things I do today that will have that impact, right? It's investing for the future. And humans are notoriously really bad at this, right? We all know that we should be eating better. We should be hitting the gym more often. We should be, practicing things for mental health. Yet so many humans struggle with these things because it's hard to visualize the future and investing for retirement, all these other things, right? So the reality is we must invest in future-proofing our business. Fast fashion and moment merch are going to become major drivers of sales opportunities. So figure out how to optimize for those now. Put it into your marketing messaging. Educate your customers on how they can leverage things that are happening in their lives today and get those on cool branded custom products to commemorate those things happening in politics, pop culture, social media, science. I mean, just look at the enthusiasm over the Mars Perseverance rover, right? So there's just so many of these things that happen on a daily basis that you can tap into and let your customers tap into. Fast and frictionless order fulfillment programs. This is something we spent a lot of time writing about in 21, which is this notion of consumers do not want to order products, sit on inventory, delegate inventory, route inventory, deal with shrinkage, all of those things that I think we got spoiled certainly in the past. The context will be to fulfill orders on demand with replenishment programs. This should be a service that you offer your customers. I don't have to worry about, again, inventory and distribution and shipping and logistics. All that should be handled by you as a service. And you can change sort of a paradigm shift about cost and talk about value and service. All right, go-to-market execution. So the way that you're going to take an online designer to market and get awareness, get interest, get traffic, get conversion, all of those use cases we talked about, it requires commitment and a long view. I've seen so many folks, do 1 week's worth of marketing activities and then complain they don't get results, right? It's just like a gym membership. Getting the gym membership, getting the technology is simple, but if you don't put in the effort and you don't do it consistently, you're not going to get the results that you probably expect. So the reality is persistence, long-term view, and a commitment is the way to leverage an online designer. All right, so this is the point where we're now going to pivot and we're going to do a quick tour of the online designer. So let me pause the screen for a moment and we're going to traverse here. And I'm going to call up the InkSoft demo site. And I'm going to now reactivate the screen. And this is where I'm going to give a quick tour of the InkSoft Online Designer. Now, the first thing I want to call out is there's two ways to deploy the online designer. You can embed it on an existing website. So if you have a gorgeous website, you love your website, you've invested a tremendous amount of money and effort and time and branding, and everything's perfect, you can add the InkSoft Online Designer to your existing website by grabbing a little snippet of code and pasting that where you want it to load and operate. The other way you can use the InkSoft Online Designer is use it as part of an InkSoft online store. So of course, InkSoft has online store capabilities, which allow you to create pop-up stores or stores for your customers. But you can actually leverage the InkSoft online store platform and build your business website. And many InkSoft customers choose to have their entire business digital web presence hosted by InkSoft using an online store. Now, here's an example. This is a fake print shop, that represents our demo site. So you can see your logo, your branding, your messaging, your product mix. The reality is, no matter what, awareness and interest, right? So here, group ordering done right, personalized products for any event or occasion. Start designing now. So again, awareness. So thinking about prioritizing this on your website, making it clear in all of your marketing messaging, and giving the path for a consumer to identify and say, yeah, I want to start designing now. And that leads customers into the design path, which allows them to choose a product, to filter, to search, to go through that product selection experience that we talked about earlier, right? So whether it be searching, whether it be looking at categories or filtering or sorting, that can all be done by a consumer. And they can visually just sort through the different products you have. So I can scroll to find the right product that really resonates to me. So in this case, I can click on a product, and that's going to expose what we call the product sort of detail screen on the right-hand side. So notice I still have the ability to scroll through these products. I don't have to go back. We're sparing your customers from having to click back in the browser, but we're giving them access to see the different colors, the sizes, the product description, all of the details about this product so I can make an informed decision. Hey, this looks like the right product. It's fashion fit, it's eco-friendly. Everything seems good. They have the sizes that we need for all the members of our group. So they can make an informed decision to either click out of this particular product and go back to the product browsing experience, or the major call to action here is design now. And if I click design now, as the name implies, here we are in the second state of the online designer. We selected a product first, which is always a requirement because again, that's influential. That's also the thing that binds and relates 100% of printed products, the entire industry. There's always a product that has something printed on it, right? So product selection is now complete. Now we go on to the second stage, which is create. And in the create stage, I can choose to upload an image. So you'll notice on the right-hand side, the number one use case for transactions from the online designer is upload. Customer has a corporate logo. They can click upload, they can drag and drop their file, or they can select and browse for a file on their computer. So this is the quickest way to do logo wear, get the corporate logo or an existing graphic into this online designer onto the product I've selected, place and position it, and then check out and make payment and go. Now, the next condition is I don't have anything. I'm starting from scratch. So I can add artwork using the design templates. I can leverage the library of clip art, and I can construct something that matches my preference. So all of this artwork is searchable. It's all categorized. One of the questions we oftentimes get is, hey, can I add my own artwork? And the answer is yes. So you can upload clip art. You can construct your own design templates to make those available to your customers. So with that said, this allows your customers to create. We talked about those different use cases: upload, create, and then there's that hybrid, which is, hey, I've uploaded my corporate logo, but I want to build and commemorate a theme because we're doing some sort of event or something. Maybe it's a milestone that we're celebrating, like landing on Mars, whatever it might be. So this is a way that I could both upload and add text or content to build out my theme. You also notice that your clients can return and access their saved content, which will prompt them to log in or rather create an account. So one of the exciting things about the online designer is returning customers can access their saved art. So by logging into their account, they can access anything that they've designed in the past, and they can revisit that to place a reorder or to complete their order. And one of the things that we see a lot in terms of communication and collaboration, as soon as I create something in the designer, I can then share. I can share that via email, or I can share on social media. And there is a tremendous amount of this sharing happening, which means, again, somebody, maybe the captain of the team or whomever it might be, the parent that's responsible for X, can design something and then share it to, again, get commitment, get buy-in, to then get confirmation to then place the order. So again, your clients have the ability to share, to get that commitment, that collaboration, to accelerate and complete their transaction. So really, you can see the designer is very straightforward. It's mobile responsive. It allows consumers to choose a product. They can choose where they want to decorate that product. And these are all based on your preferences. So you're going to establish the products because you're going to curate ruthlessly, right? You get to establish how the product can be decorated, what minimums, all of the business logic that is going to be meaningful to ensure that when you do get an order from the designer, it's profitable every single time. I think the other things to sort of communicate here from a transactional consideration, we talked about a firewall, that sort of filter and that quotation firewall. So if I design something And I'm sort of greeted with two decisions. I can save my design, which will prompt me to log into an existing account or create a new account. And as soon as a consumer does that, that's a lead. You've trapped a lead. So let's say you spent money on digital advertising. You compel the customer to get to your website, or a prospective customer, and they design something and they created an account. Well, now that's actionable. I went from an anonymous, cookie, an anonymous IP address, a truly anonymous consumer, to now I have an email address and I know their graphic. I can leverage that to ensure that I do convert on that website visit. Most, e-tailers and businesses never get that luxury because they don't really offer something other than giving a deep discount. Sign up for our newsletter and save 15% on your first order. Well, I just gave 15% away. So the reality is now, because you gave context, you gave value, you have the ability to prompt, hey, if you want to save what you built, just create a free account. Now, the next major action here is next step. And this is where the consumer gets to enter in the quantities and sizes and select the different garment colors that they might want. And they can choose get price, and the InkSoft price engine, based on your pricing, is going to come back with a response. And this is where, again, you have fair, equitable pricing. You should stand behind your pricing and be proud of it. And if a consumer is not willing to pay the price that you're presenting, they're probably never going to be a customer. And do you want the customer that's going to beat the hell out of you for, a deep discount? That's probably not going to be a loyal customer. They're probably not going to return and buy from you again. So this is a good way to, again, filter out, are you serious or are you curious? Do you care about supporting a local business, or are you just trying to find the cheapest t-shirt? That's probably not a good match for us. And maybe it is, I don't know. It could vary based on your business. You could argue it multiple ways. But I think this is a meaningful, again, context to say, this is our price. Are you in or are you out? And then have the confidence that, you're qualifying customers well in advance of having to waste time. So that's a quick overview of the online designer. If you want to go deeper, there's so much more to share here in terms of how you set products up, how you set up pricing, how orders flow into the InkSoft order and production management, a technology that's available to you when you log into your InkSoft account. We'd love to go deeper and share more context and insights with you and answer your questions. So if you do want to know more, I just invite you to go to inksoft.com, and you can request a personalized demo with our team, who can share, again, all the insights and give you some more depth here. Now, I also want to point out before we conclude, if you do go to inksoft.com and click resources and go to marketing kits, here's where you can access all of the marketing kits that are available. And because you're joining us for a webinar that relates to the online designer, this online designer, the one sales tool you can't afford to sleep on, there's a marketing kit associated where we've written professional marketing copy. So you can copy and paste. You're free to modify to make it into your brand voice. But this is marketing content you can use to start promoting, and again, demand gen, driving awareness and interest of the online designer on your website. So this is sort of we're doing a little bit of the work for you. We're going to give you a great start. Make sure to register and access that marketing kit and get professionally written marketing copy for social, for email, website call to action, flyers. Take full advantage of that. And then all the other marketing kits, order fulfillment programs, the things we talked about, employee merch programs. There's a tremendous range of marketing kits here with, again, that free marketing messaging that's going to help you go to market in quick order. Well, we are at the scheduled hour for our webinar, and this is the point where we're going to conclude. I want to thank you for participating today, and we'd certainly love any feedback. So if you'd like to see marketing kits, with specific subject matter, we're actually working on a really exciting one now. That's going to help you tap into the pent-up demand for spring sports that are returning. That will be available here very, very soon. But if you have any ideas, we'd love to hear about those ideas and hear from you. So make sure to email me directly, jp@inksoft.com, with any feedback or ideas for future education or marketing kits. I would love to hear from you. Once more, thank you so much for taking the time to participate today, and we look forward to our next event together.